All scanners read 0, until it didn't. One moment we were winning. The next. 8 minutes later, the war was a cautionary tale. Survivor's log, now archived under Galactic Forbidden Histories. The war chamber aboard the Gelzar Dominion Prime was a floating monument to arrogance, lined in obsidian, accented with gravity-suspended banners of each victorious species. 23 banners, all soaked in pride and smug certainty. Only one corner of the chamber remained unadorned. That banner had burned out long ago. Earth's. Vorakay loomed over the central holo-display, clawed fingers tapping impatiently as star maps rotated. His yellow scales shimmered with satisfaction. Final system reports show no human presence within 10 sectors. Their resistance is gone. Their cowardice confirmed. All that remains is the surrender ceremony, added Ambassador Yilum, his tone far more restrained. His pale violet eyes flicked toward the door. And the guest. A soft chime announced the arrival. 2 armored guards stepped aside as a lone human walked in, flanked by empty space and too much calm. Commander Elliot Vance was unarmed, impeccably dressed in an outdated Earth military coat, and holding, of all things, a steaming mug of black coffee. His demeanor could be described as Sunday morning stroll, despite standing before 14 alien warlords. He nodded with practiced ease. Gentlemen, ladies, I hope I'm not interrupting your victory party. C.H. Lee, a junior analyst with too many eyes and too little filter, giggled. He speaks like he's still relevant. Vance smiled warmly. I do my best to stay conversational. Wouldn't want extinction to sour the mood. Vorakay narrowed his eyes. You're here because we offered you the dignity of witnessing our triumph. Vance took a slow sip. Dignity. Yes. How kind. The room tensed. Yilum intervened. Let us proceed. Commander Vance, you're to observe the deactivation of your species' final beacon. We do this not for your comfort, but for closure. I'm deeply honored, Vance replied, tone light. Though, if I may, before you shut down the beacon, could I request a window seat? Vorakay scoffed. To what end? Vance gestured toward the observation deck. One last look at the stars. We humans always liked dramatic exits. The alien council exchanged glances. Ridiculous. But harmless. And, perhaps, satisfying. Yilum sighed. Let him have it. The observation deck was silent, save for the hum of distant generators and the ambient thrum of deep space. The stars outside were unblinking, no movement, no signals, no signs of ships. Empty, C.H. Lee muttered, watching the sensor readouts. As predicted. Vorakay leaned against the console. This war dragged for 2 centuries. And in the end, they had no fleet. No fallback. No gods to save them. Commander Vance stood near the glass, hands folded politely behind his back. I've always wondered, he said quietly. Why did the galaxy really fear us? C.H. Lee laughed. Because you were unpredictable and noisy. Yilum didn't laugh. Because no one who fought you ever came back whole. Not physically. Not mentally. Vance nodded. True. We were adaptable. You were scattered rats after Earth fell, Vorakay snapped. Yes, Vance agreed, turning slowly to face them. But rats are hard to kill. He pulled a pocket watch from his coat. Brass, old-fashioned, ticking softly. May I ask, he said casually, what's the current time according to your star cycle? Why does it matter? Vorakay growled. No reason. Just trying to sync up. C.H. Lee squinted at a console. Standard Galactic. 15 hours 23 minutes and 18 seconds. Vance clicked the watch closed. Close enough. Suddenly, the deck lights flickered. A faint hiss echoed in the room, softer than static, barely a whisper, but enough to draw attention. C.H. Lee frowned. Sensor glitch. No, Vance said calmly. That's just the wake. Wake of what? Vorakay barked. Vance looked out the window again. The IRS audit, he said softly. A moment passed. Silence stretched. Excuse me? Yilum asked, frowning. It's the ship's name, Vance explained. Inside joke. You wouldn't get it. A pulse shimmered across the starlight. Not a flash. Not an explosion. Just a subtle warping, like the universe inhaled, uncertain. Vorakay leaned forward. Scan that. C.H. Lee's hands moved rapidly. There's nothing. No signature. No mass. No origin. Wait, no, it's wait. The readouts froze. One by one, each console around the room began shutting down. Not with violence, with quiet. As if surrendering. Someone's spoofing our systems, Yilum said grimly. No one is spoofing anything, Vance replied, turning to face them fully. Then what is this? Vorakay snarled. Vance's smile deepened. You asked why you feared us, he said. It wasn't the guns. It wasn't the tech. It was the waiting. The silence. The knowing we were still out there. Doing math. A single red dot flickered on the map. 1. In the center of the galactic fleet spread. No way, C.H. Lee whispered. That's not possible, Yilum muttered. Decloaking complete, Vance said gently, as if announcing dinner. Hello, audit. The screen remained blank, yet across the quadrant, ships began vanishing from the star map. One by one. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Erased. Vorakay roared, slamming the console. Where is your fleet? Vance took one last sip of coffee. Set the cup down. Fleet, he repeated. He shrugged. Oh, that's not a fleet. That's just one ship. And in that instant, the room understood something ancient. Something brutal. Something that smelled like smoke and sounded like ticking clocks. Humanity hadn't lost the war. They'd been setting the board. And the clock had just struck 0. In the cold silence of deep space, nothing screams. Not even war. But in the first 8 seconds after the IRS audit decloaked, reality itself flinched. On the Dominion command deck, it began with loss. Not missiles. Not torpedoes. Just absence. The Zethal Skybringer, a dreadnought boasting 10 hypercore reactors, was simply gone. One moment. Tactical centerpiece. The next. Vacuum. No fire. No debris. Not even echo signatures. C.H. Lee stared at the blank hole of screen, whispering, "That was our flagship." Vance didn't gloat. He didn't move. He simply watched. 8 seconds. Second ship. Vothan's Claw. Blink. Gone. Third. Cerulean Hammer. Vanished mid-turn, still broadcasting formation orders. No alarms. No emergency pings. Just deletion. Stop the audit. Vorakay roared. Yilum's voice dropped an octave. It's not a process. It's a ship. And we didn't detect its arrival. C.H. Lee screamed. That's the point. The audit didn't attack conventionally. It unwrote. Its onboard weapon, codename, Orphan Protocol, targeted not just ships but their coordinates in time. It found the moment a vessel existed, and deleted it from that frame. The result wasn't explosion. It was omission. Like they'd never been built. Even the galactic logs scrambled. History shifted mid-sentence. No record of Skybringer-class vessels ever deployed. No one on the Dominion deck understood how, but every second that passed proved a lesson. This was not war. This was revision. Commander Vance, Yilum said, voice low, lips dry. What is that thing? Vance turned, slow and calm. A favor. For the silence. Vorakay stepped forward, eyes blazing. What silence? Vance looked through him. The centuries we didn't answer. When you bombed Earth's last signal hubs. When you shattered our orbital lines and mocked the silence. He took a deep breath. You thought we died. But we were listening. The Dominion's high-alert sirens screamed to life. Second 4. All outer perimeter ships vanished. Orbital mines dissolved. Forward beacons, timeline fractured. Communication relays glitched, then ceased to have ever existed. From a fleet of 9,000, 7,800 ships were gone by second 4. The remaining vessels hadn't moved. They were still frozen, mid-formation, in tactical discipline. And now they stood alone, surrounded by the ghosts of nothing. C.H. Lee sobbed openly now, not from pain but confusion. This can't be. You can't erase ships. You can't erase existence. That breaks entropy, mass conservation. Yes, Vance interrupted. It does. Yilum turned sharply. You're violating physics. We're bending them, Vance corrected. We never broke them. That would be rude. He stepped closer to the window. We just found something you missed. Persistence isn't required. All it takes is memory, precision, and spite. Second 5. The Gelzar Dominion Prime, the very command station they stood on, flickered. Just for a moment. Lights dimmed. Floor trembled. But it didn't disappear. Because the audit had rules. Vance smiled faintly. You're not first on the list. In the Dominion war room, 4 ships remained on screen. All disabled. All defenseless. Do something. Vorakay screamed. C.H. Lee tried. The console rejected every command. Access denied. One message flashed again and again. Rollback complete. Audit verified. Vance turned. I told you, he said. It's not a fleet. It's a correction. Second 6. Backup systems engaged. Dominion engineers rerouted power through subroutines. Someone, no one knows who, managed to force a fleet-wide broadcast on the emergency channel. A desperate warning went out. Unknown entity decloaked. Avoid sector 000. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. That message never reached anyone. Because by second 7, the entire galactic network blinked. Across the galaxy, data archives failed. Comms went dark. AI cores restarted mid-cycle. Navigation protocols misaligned. The audit hadn't fired. It had touched the central routing nexus. One packet of rewritten code. One line of obsolete Earth logic injected into the system. If origin equals human, prioritize, null, erase, all. It spread like a virus, but not to infect. To clean. Second 8. Vance exhaled and turned to the silent room. That's 8 seconds, he said. That's the window. Window for what? Yilum whispered. Vance stepped away from the glass. For you to surrender. No one spoke. Not Vorakay. Not Yilum. Not C.H. Lee. Because by now, they all understood. They hadn't defeated humanity. They'd given it motive. The audit didn't fire again. It didn't need to. The message had landed. There was no countdown. No ultimatum. Just a void where supremacy used to stand. Vance straightened his collar and picked up his mug again. Now, he said. Shall we discuss terms? Vance's words echoed in the vacuumed quiet of the Dominion Command bridge. Shall we discuss terms? The sentence wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried the full weight of absence, the absence of a fleet, of protocol, of superiority. Grand Strategist Vorakay opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. His mandibles clicked once. Twice. He turned toward his tactician with the desperation of a drowning captain reaching for a manual on how to breathe water. Yilum, he rasped. Options? Yilum stared at the human. Vance sipped coffee. With his left hand, he casually scrolled through a holographic interface no one had noticed him deploy. It ran Earth Standard OS, an antique compared to Dominion Neuroware, yet somehow completely impenetrable. Options, Yilum said dryly, include begging, silence, or irreversible biological surrender. I vote silence. C.H. Lee whimpered. Vance looked up. Don't worry. This isn't about conquest, he said warmly. We're not like you. That tone, cordial, almost comforting, sent a colder chill than any threat could. His politeness sounded exactly like a man explaining how he just turned off your life support, but left you a note of apology. You didn't come to win, Vorakay growled, piecing it together. You came to prove something. Vance tilted his head. Proving things is for science fairs and insecure empires. We came to file. He tapped his wrist. A display lit up. Clause 14C. Hostile interference with emerging civilizations. Filed. Sol System Origin. Human Remnant Authority. Status. Pending recompense or correction. Yilum's eyes widened. You're invoking a preserved charter clause? That was dissolved before your kind even evolved fire. Archived. Vance corrected. We don't dissolve laws. We remember them better than you do. That was the human advantage. Not weapons, not tech. Memory. While the Dominion recorded only what mattered to them, humans archived everything. Treaties, sitcoms, birthdays, even laws that were laughed out of galactic courts before Earth's first satellite launched. And now they'd weaponized that memory. Clause 14C, the ancient clause meant to protect emerging species from premature first contact or cultural sterilization. Earth had qualified. The Dominion had violated it. Repeatedly. And humanity had waited. Silently. Planning. You used our own laws, Yilum said slowly, to justify a counterstrike. We used your arrogance, Vance replied. He tapped again. A 3D file projected into the center of the bridge. It unfolded like a court document and then sharpened into video. The Dominion's attack on Earth, orbital strikes, disruption pulses, city-scale EMPs. Vorakay watched his own face, calm, victorious, delivering orders. Let the silence be a lesson. Vance raised a brow. You gave us a lesson, he said. We gave you a footnote. You're not the main event, Vorakay. You're just the appendix. The clause had stipulations, it turned out. One of which required a rebalancing. We're not asking for compensation, Vance said, eyes fixed on the screen. We're here to balance the sheet. What does that mean? C.H. Lee asked hoarsely. Vance didn't answer immediately. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a notepad. Paper. He flipped through handwritten lists. Yilum blinked. What is that? A ledger, Vance said. Of all the colonies you burned, signals you intercepted, explorers you lost, everything your empire forgot to log properly. That's madness, Vorakay hissed. No, Vance replied calmly. That's accounting. Let me make it simple, Vance continued. We're not here to destroy you. That would imply we care about what you've built. He stepped closer to Vorakay. Come. Hands behind his back. We're here to audit the damage. And erase the imbalance. Yilum's gaze darted between the human and the remaining Dominion fleet, crippled, unresponsive, flickering across shadowed timelines. How many are left? She asked, almost afraid to know. C.H. Lee scanned. 200. From 9,000. Vorakay gritted his fangs. You monster. Vance chuckled. Oh, you think this was the monster? He pointed behind him. Out the viewport. The monster hasn't moved yet. The audit hung in space like a still threat, untouched by light, its angular hull absorbing the stars. Its core was hidden beneath 24 layers of collapsible probability shielding. Its name was a joke. A human joke. A reminder that even horror can be administratively efficient. Why name it that? Yilum asked, unable to stop herself. Why call it the IRS audit? Vance's smile cracked just slightly wider. Because even humans fear it, he said. And fear's a language you understand. He tapped one final time. The terms displayed. Dominion Reparation Agreement version 1.0. Immediate withdrawal from Sol and neighboring systems. Restoration of quarantined human historical records. A formal apology broadcast on all frequencies. 1,000 years of non-interference. And a small favor ****. Vance tapped the clause and it expanded. You will send a delegate to Earth. Alone. No security. No surveillance. You will stand on the soil you tried to sterilize and hear our silence for a full day. A delegate? Vorakay scoffed. To Earth? We don't know if your planet is even habitable anymore. Good, Vance said. Then it'll be a surprise. The tension hung thick now. Even the silence crackled. The Dominion had two choices: accept the terms, or risk complete deletion. And somehow, the former felt worse. Because submission meant acknowledging that the humans had planned this, waited for it, and carried it out with surgical vengeance, all while smiling politely and quoting 6,000-year-old charters. Yilum cleared her throat. She nodded once at Vorakay. We should sign. Vorakay refused to look at her. But he didn't object. C.H. Lee, trembling, initiated the protocol. Vance's screen blinked. Terms accepted. Timestamp: 8 minutes and 32 seconds. With that, the audit powered down. Slowly. Like a beast choosing sleep over slaughter. Systems across the sector realigned. The Dominion flagship status lights turned green again. Navigation re-established. Communications returned. But nothing felt restored. Because in just 8 minutes, the Dominion's illusion of control had been pulled away, layer by careful layer, by a species they thought extinct. And now the galaxy would know the truth. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had remembered. The Dominion delegation ship hovered alone over Earth's atmosphere, silent and wary. From orbit, the planet looked like myth. Vibrant blue oceans, rich green continents, and a swirl of silver clouds, too beautiful for a species that had supposedly burned. Inside the ship, strategist Yilum stood in silence, armored in ceremonial black. She was the delegate, unarmed, unsupervised, and utterly alone. The terms had been clear. No surveillance, no escorts, no safety net. Only her. As the dropship descended, sensors flickered with interference. Artificial, precise, deliberate. Earth's atmosphere scrambled everything but audio and visuals, only what humanity allowed to pass. The ship landed on a cracked runway in what was once Central Asia. Wind howled across ruins. Nature had reclaimed concrete. Cities lay half-sunken beneath forests and snow. Statues jutted like forgotten gods. And yet, there was no desolation. Only pause. Yilum stepped out. No weapons. No guards. Just the heavy weight of unknown intention. A voice greeted her before she saw anyone. Come. Male. Familiar. Welcome to Earth. She turned. Vance. The same man who had dismantled a fleet with a claws and a smile, now stood in a threadbare coat, hands in pockets, like a professor greeting a guest. You? She asked. Me, he confirmed. I was asked to be your host. Yilum glanced at the sky. Your fleet isn't watching? No need. You'll behave. That's what shock does to a species. He gestured toward a stone path that hadn't been visible before. This way. Time starts now. The path wove through skeletal buildings and green life, ruins and rebirth braided like DNA. Moss clung to glass towers. Trees burst from subway stations. Birds sang, unafraid. Was this your revenge? She asked. Letting the galaxy believe Earth was ash, only to return as ghosts? Vance shook his head. No. Revenge is reactive. This was design. They passed a cracked sculpture, half a globe, shattered down the equator. What is this place? Our memory, he replied. And your lesson. A forest swallowed the trail next. But not wild, crafted. Every tree, every vine, grown with quiet intention. No roads. No tech. Only wind, birds, and silence. They arrived at a clearing where a single obsidian monolith rose from the soil. No inscriptions. No lights. Just stillness. "What is it?" she asked. "Not what," Vance replied. "Who?" She tilted her head. "Inside is every human who never got to speak for themselves. Scientists silenced. Colonists lost. Children obliterated before they learned their own name." Her voice dropped. "It's a tomb." "No," he said softly. "It's proof." Yilum stepped forward and placed a hand on the stone. It vibrated faintly, like a sleeping heart. "Every Dominion strike," she whispered. "Logged. Recorded. Archived." She turned, face tightening. "Why not respond earlier? Why wait until we feared nothing?" "Because fear clouds understanding," Vance said. "And we needed you to understand." They walked again. Soon they came to a bridge, ancient steel, rusted but still intact. Below, a river glittered. Its current hummed with energy, unnatural and pure. "Fusion runoff," Vance explained. "We buried tech beneath the crust. Let the planet breathe above while we prepared below." Yilum stared at the water. "You never stopped building." He smiled. "We don't stop. That's the problem with trying to erase humans. We always rebuild." Beyond the bridge was a plaza surrounded by statues, humans, aliens, hybrids. Names carved in over 50 languages. Each figure faced outward, backs together, forming a circle. "This," Yilum began, unsure. "Our first council," Vance answered. "The real one. Not the Dominions." He pointed to a small figure, barely adult, with augmented eyes and a neural link draped over one shoulder. "She was 10. Invented a new encryption model before your scouts dropped a sterilization beacon on her city." "She's here." "No," he said. "Only what we remember." They continued in silence until they reached the last structure, a crater. Not natural. Not recent. A weapon's impact. Charred edges. Glassed soil. At the center, a single chair. Yilum approached it. No tech. No symbols. Just presence. "This is where we heard you," Vance said behind her. "Heard us?" "Your broadcast. After your first sterilization wave, you declared, 'Human resistance is over. Let silence be our monument.'" She stared at the chair. "And we listened. 4 years. In silence." Then he circled her. "But here's what you didn't understand. Silence isn't surrender. It's recording." He leaned in. "You gave us time. And we used every second." Yilum turned to face him. "You could have retaliated sooner." "Yes. But then, we'd be like you. And we weren't done becoming us." She sat in the chair. The air around her shifted. And suddenly, memories not her own bloomed like fire. A mother holding her child during blackout drills. Scientists locking data away in core vaults. Soldiers retreating not in fear, but to warn others. A broadcast, "If Earth ever falls silent, hide." Then, darkness. Then, stars. Yilum gasped. The visions faded. She stood quickly, shaken. "You wanted us to corner you." Vance nodded. "Only way to teach a predator that prey is not what it seems." He checked his watch. "Your day is up." She blinked. It had felt like minutes. "Return to your ship," he said. "And tell them everything. Every silence. Every shadow." "And if we don't?" she asked quietly. He turned, already walking. "You will." She boarded. The ship rose. Earth shrank beneath her. But in her ears, silence remained, echoing louder than any war cry. Because she understood now, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't fire or ships or strategy. It was memory. They had buried nothing. They had hidden everything. And now, the galaxy would never forget again.